Good afternoon, second grade. Okay, we are going to move on to our next lesson. It's chapter 5, lesson 6. You need to turn to page 327. That's where we're going to start today, 327. You also need to get out a yellow crayon and a red crayon today. Okay, so make sure you do that. So again, turn to page 327 and make sure that you have a yellow and red crayon handy. We're going to start with our video introducing our topic today.
Number patterns. Sometimes firefighters need to use ladders. To get where they need to be, they go up the ladder step by step. We're going to use a ladder to help us count. We'll go up each step one at a time as we count. Number patterns can help you count. Let's look at an example. In this pattern, we count by ones. 545, 546, 547, 548. Each number is one more. We can also count by tens. 545, 555, 565, 575. Each number is 10 more. Let's look at another pattern. We'll count by hundreds. 545, 645, 745, 845. Each number is 100 more.
Okay, you need to be on page 327. Our lesson today is counting by fives, tens, and hundreds. But it's trickier than what we did earlier this year because they are going to start you in the hundreds, like on this, on 327, and they're going to start you and have you go backwards, and it can be very tricky, but our goal is to look for the pattern, okay? So we're going to start here, and our instructions say skip count by 5 and color those numbers yellow. So I want you to get your yellow crayon ready. I'm going to have to use orange because that's all I have. And we're going to skip count by 5s, okay? So we have 205, 210, 215, 220, 225, 230, 235, 240, 245, 250, 255, 260, 265, 270, 275, 280, 285, 290, 295, 300. And if you look at that chart, you can see a pattern. It's going from the middle to the end, or it goes, if you look at the ones place in each number, it's 5, 0, 5, 0, 5, 0. So you know that you're skip counting by 5s there. All right, now I need you to get out your red crayon, okay? This time we're going to skip count by 10s, okay? So let's look at this. We're going to color, so I'm going to choose, I'm going to have to do green. You guys are going to use red. I don't have a red crayon. We're going to circle these numbers, okay? So 210, 220, 230, 240, 250, 260, 270, 280, 290, 200, 300. And we're going to circle those numbers. And we notice a pattern. When we're skip counting by 10s, it's always on this far side of our chart, kind of like we did earlier this year, okay? But also when you're skip counting by 10s, you notice that there's always a 0 in the ones place, and the tens place is always going up by 1. So the pattern helps you too. Now, the last thing they want to know is if we were skip counting by hundreds, what number would come next? So we're at 300. What number would come next? So if we had to do 100, 200, 300, Yes, 400 would be our very next number if we were counting by hundreds. All right, when you are finished with that, I would like for you to turn to page 328. You can go ahead and put your crayons away. We won't need those any longer, and you just need a pencil out. Okay, so number patterns can help you count. In these patterns, each number is more. Okay, now they are going to have you go backwards too. So they might do 5 less, 10 less, 100 less. Okay, but we're focusing on 5s, 10s, and 100s. They can go forwards or they can go backwards. Okay, so our first one right here is what we're looking at. Circle it. And this is 5 more. Okay, and if you look at the pattern of our 5 more, a couple things happen. But I want you to pay attention to the ones place. When you're skip counting by 5s, the ones place is going up. It's going 5, 0, 5, 0. So if you notice that pattern in the ones place, 5, 0, 5, 0, then you know that you're skip counting by 5s. Now let's look at our tens place, okay? If our tens place is going up by 1 each time and the ones place is staying the same, so the ones place is staying the same and the tens place is going up by 1, then we know we skip count by 10. So my ones place is the same, it's 5. And then here, the tens place is going up 4, 5, 6, 7. Then I know I'm skip counting by 10. And the hundreds place is probably the easiest. You know you're counting by hundreds when the hundreds place is changing, when it's going up by 1 or it's going back by 1, okay? So if you notice here, it's going up by 1 in the hundreds place, in the tens place, and the ones place is staying the same. So it's 5, 6, 7, 8, then we know, and it's in the hundreds place, then we know that we're skip counting by 100, okay? Let's go ahead and look at number 1 down here. It says, write the missing numbers, then write the counting pattern. So number 1 says 340, 350, 360, blank, 380. And we notice that the tens place is changing and the ones place is staying the same, but the tens place is going up by 1 each time. So we know that we're skip counting by 10. And we know that this number should be, I'm going to write it over here because I can't write that small. We know that this number in there should be 370. And the pattern is 10. Now let's look at number 2. If we see this 5, 0, blank, 0, we see a 5 and a 0 on the ones place, and it's going back and forth like that, then we know we're skip counting by 5. Okay, but you have to pay attention here because your tens place is also going up by 1. Okay, so if the tens place is going up by 1 and the ones place is 5, 0, 5, 0, then you know you're skip counting by 5. In number 1, the tens place went up by 1, but it stayed 0 in the ones place. So we knew we were skip counting by 10. So that can be tricky. Okay, so if we do number 2, let's skip count up. It's 575, 580, 585, 590, 595. And we know we're skip counting by 5. And the reason we know that is because if we look at the ones place, it's doing 5, 0, 5, 0. Okay, that's the pattern we're looking for. All right, number 3. Number 3 is pretty easy. This is the one I said is the easiest one because the hundreds place is changing. Okay, so that's the only one we're looking at. Okay, 941. Oh, but it's going backwards, so it can be a little tricky. So what I told my class is if you notice it's going backwards, don't pay attention to that. Just start here and go this way. It'll help. Okay, so let's start here and go this and go towards the 9. So 541, 641. What would come next? 741, 841, 941. And we know the pattern is skip counting by 100. Okay? So again, we know it's the hundreds place because our pattern is changing in the hundreds place. It's going up or back by 1. All right, let's look at number 4. It says 680, 675, blank, blank, 660. So they start high and they're going low. So what I always told my class is start here and go this way to help yourself if you can't go backwards. Okay, so, and I look at my ones place, it's showing me 0, 5, 0, 5. So I know that I'm skip counting by 5s because that's my pattern I'm looking for. 5, 0, 5, 0. So let's start at 660 and skip count by 5. 660, 665, 670, 675, 680. Okay? And the pattern that we are skip counting by was 5. Again, I know this can be very tricky. What you're going to try to do is look for the pattern to help you. All right, let's talk math. How can you tell if a number is counting by hundreds? Well, we know it's counting by hundreds if the hundreds place is going up by 1 each time. We have to look at the pattern in the hundreds place. We know it's the hundreds if that number in the hundreds place is going up by 1 or going back by 1 each time. Okay. When you're ready, please go on to page 329. Okay, I am going to do 2 more of these with you, and then you will be on your own to do the rest. I will go on to the back on page 330 to read the word problems or do some of the word problems with you, okay? So let's start. We're going to do 5 and 6 together. So it says write the missing numbers, then write the counting patterns, which is just what we did on the previous page, except for they're tricking you a little bit more because they're not highlighting the pattern for you. So you have to figure out the pattern yourself, okay? So let's look at number 5. It says 500, 510, blank, 530, blank. Well, let's look for our pattern. What's changing in my number? Well, the only number that's changing is the tens place. The ones place is the same, and the hundreds place is the same. So therefore, I know that the pattern is skip counting by tens because the tens place is changing. So now I can skip count. 500, 510, 520, 530, 540. Okay? I'm sorry about my handwriting, friends. 40. All right, let's look at number 6. Man, they're really tricking you here because they're leaving out the numbers. You really need to figure out the pattern. Okay, so it says 310, blank, 320, blank, 330. If we look for a pattern in those 3 numbers, it looks like only the tens place is changing. So you might think, oh, I'm skip counting by 10. But when you go to do it, 310, 320, 320, well, that doesn't work, right? So that should give you a clue that you're not skip counting by 10. You're actually skip counting by 5s, okay? They left out the 5 ones because they were trying to trick you, silly book. But they didn't trick us. We got them. So we know that the pattern is skip counting by 5s because when I went to go skip count by 10s, it wouldn't work because I can't repeat my same number. So now that we know that it's skip counting by 5s, let's skip count together. 310, what would come next? Yes, 315, 320, what would come next? Yes, 325, and then 330. Okay, so my helpful hints for you are 1, make sure you're looking for the pattern. What number is changing? Okay, that will help you to figure out what you're skip counting by. My next hint is if you have one like number 7 where it's going backwards and you can't do that, then you want to start here and go forwards to help you. Okay? All right, you will be on your own to do 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. If you have further questions, you'll jump on and your teacher can help you. Also, when you're finished, they should have a snip of the answers for you to help. All right, before you leave me, let's go ahead and go to page 330, do a couple word problems together, and I'll read the rest of them for you so you guys have those. Give you 10 seconds to go ahead and finish up and then jump to the back. Okay, let's go ahead and look at our word problems. We're going to do 13 together. We're going to do 15 together. And then you guys will do 14 and write math on your own, but I will read them to you. Okay, so 13. Paula counts by hundreds. So that's very important for us to know. She's counting by hundreds. 1 second. Okay, she starts with the number 123. Write the numbers Paula counts. So our pattern is hundreds. So the only number that's going to change is our hundreds place. And we're going to count up by hundreds. So let's do it together. Ready? 123. What would be next? 223. Notice my hundreds place is the only one changing. What would be next? 323. What would be next? 423. Next would be 523. And next would be 623. Very good job. Okay, let's do 15 together, and then I'll come back and read 14 and write math for you. 15. Ahmad counts backwards by 5s 6 times. He starts with 230 and says he ends at 200. Is he correct? Okay, so this one's tricky because you're actually going to have to count backwards by 5s. So we're at 230, and we're going backwards by 5s 6 times. Let's see where we're at. 230, 225, 220, it's 2 times. 215, 210, 205, one more, 200. So we skip counted backwards 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. By 5s. Did he end on 200? Yes, he did. So that would be answering your problem. Okay? All right. We are going to read number 14 and write math, and then you guys will be on your own to finish your independent practice, your word problems, and your homework. So number 14, Allie counts by 10s. She starts with 325. Allie counts 325, 335, 345, 365, 385. What numbers did Allie leave out? So we're looking at the tens place. So that's our pattern. You need to look and see what 2 numbers did she leave out. So when you look at your pattern, your tens place, it should be going up by 1 each time. So figure out which one is not going up by 1s. Which ones are we missing? Okay, write math. Felicia counts from 300 to 400. Would it be faster to count by 5s or count by 10s? Explain. Hey, you're going to go on to finish 329 independent practice, your 2 word problems, and your homework. If you have any questions, jump back on with your teacher on your Google Meet and they can answer them. And you can go check your answers when you're finished on your slides from today. Okay? Bye, guys. See you later.